When I'm going on a circle, and you might be saying, well, you know, I want to work on getting my horse straight, so how do circles help? Circles and figure eights work on getting your horse supple. And getting your horse supple allows you to make your horse straight, because suppleness is like flexibility. Suppleness comes at the bottom of the training scale, whereas straightness comes at the top of the training scale. Hello everyone, today's video is about how to straighten your crooked horse. All horses are crooked, we're all crooked, so in today's video I'm going to give you 3 tips to help get yourself and your horse straighter. Today's video is proudly sponsored by Total Saddle Fit, and they have awesome girths, which I'm going to be talking about in a second. The first tip is when we talk about straightness and we notice that our horse is crooked, unfortunately a lot of times that is because you, the rider, are crooked. I would say that we account for about 70% of our horse's crookedness. So unfortunately, you have a big part in your horse's crookedness. And it's interesting if you ride a lot of horses how most of your horses end up having the same issue. So here's a little thing for you to try to test your straightness. What you're going to test is basically your diagonal aids. So we talk all the time about inside leg to outside rein. So just while you're watching this video, you can get up. And what I want you to do is I want you to balance on your left leg. Don't run away, Harvey. And then practice lifting your right hand out. So it's a coordination of, can you balance on the left and then move your right? And then you're going to switch and you're going to do the opposite. So you're going to balance on your right leg and move your left. And then notice which side is easier for you. So for me, I feel way better standing on my right leg, moving my left arm, which makes sense because when I ride my horses, I have a lot harder time getting them connected from left leg to right rein. So tip 1 is think about your own symmetry, straightness, balance, and then find ways that you can work on that when you're not on your horse. So like going to the gym, doing Pilates, doing balance exercises, all that is super important. Okay, my second tip before you even get on your horse is to make sure that your saddle is fitting properly and staying straight. So when you look at your saddle from the back, it's really important that this channel in the middle is right over your horse's spine, because you don't want the pressure of these panels to be on your horse's spine. And since the saddle really is it's basically the sandwich between you and your horse, if your saddle is crooked, it's going to be impossible for you to get straight or for your horse to get straight. And here's what happens is that every horse has a hollow side and a stiff side. And so whichever is their stiff side, they push the saddle in the opposite direction. So Harvey, for example, his stiff side is his right side. So he always pushes the saddle to the left. And then the other thing that happens is when you get on, you pull the saddle to the left. So I'm going to get on and I'm going to show you, it's super important that you make sure that your girth, is tight, because if your girth isn't tight when you get on, you're going to pull the saddle over to the side. And for me, I really like these Total Saddle Fit girths, especially for Harvey, because he tends to always push his saddle off to the left side. And so with these girths, I can keep the saddle straight and I don't have to tighten the girth quite as much. These girths also have a nice elastic piece that allows the girth to expand when he's breathing, which is really nice because then I don't feel like I'm suffocating him. Okay, so I've just gotten on Harvey, and a lot of times what happens when you get on is that because you get on from the left side, you actually pull the saddle off to the left when you get on your horse. So once I get on, normally what I do is I walk around for like 2 to 3 minutes and then I tighten my girth again. And I like to tighten my girth on the right side because since he pushes the saddle to the left, when I go over here to tighten the girth on my right side, it also forces me to put the weight down into my right stirrup. So basically I'm like pulling the saddle to the right And I'm also tightening the girth and securing the girth on this right side. And it's really, really important, like if your saddle is crooked, it's going to be impossible to get your horse straight. So if I have a student in a lesson and I can see that they're crooked, the first thing that I always do is I have them come over, I have them face towards me, I make sure that their stirrups are level and that the saddle is straight. And so a lot of times they'll have to actually like stand up out of the saddle, shift the saddle over to the side. Then I make sure that the girth is tight enough before we start the lesson. And then as you go through your ride, you're going to have to keep checking your girth and checking that your saddle is straight. Because if your saddle isn't straight, there's absolutely no way that you're going to get your horse straight. And you are going to be crooked as well. Okay, so those are my first 2 tips. And then my third tip is that if you and your horse are really crooked and struggling with straightness, what I recommend doing is frequent changes of direction. Because the longer that you go in the same direction, the more and more crooked that you and your horse become. So what you're going to do is you're just going to ride a figure 8, and every time you come to the middle of the ring, you're going to change and you're going to go the opposite way. You can do this exercise at the walk, you can do it at the trot, you can do it at the canter. But even though you really want to work on that harder side, I highly recommend doing frequent changes of direction because it forces you and your horse to get even and straight in both directions. So every time I'm going to change direction. And when I'm going on a circle, and you might be saying, well, I want to work on getting my horse straight, so how do circles help? Circles and figure 8s work on getting your horse supple. And getting your horse supple allows you to make your horse straight, because suppleness is like flexibility. And suppleness comes at the bottom of the training scale, whereas straightness comes at the top of the training scale. So when you can get your horse evenly bending to the left and bending to the right, then, believe it or not, your horse will be straight. And what I'm focusing on here as I'm riding my figure 8 exercise is that I can see his inside eyelash. So kind of the way I know that my horse is bending is if I can see his inside eyelash. And then I also know if he's bending correctly if I'm able to ride accurate circles. So if I know that like my left circle and my right circle are perfectly round and the same size. What happens with most horses, so like Harvey here, for example, he's a horse who is stiff to the right and hollow to the left. So if left to his own devices, what Harvey does is he wants to overbend to the left and then he wants to drift out to the right like this. So you can see how here he's just kind of turning his head way to the left, but he's falling way out to the right. And my circle to the left is getting very, very big. Then what happens when I go to the right is that he's counterbent and falling in. So again, this is the manifestation of crookedness on your circles. And that's why I think that working serpentines and working figure 8s is a really good way to get your horse straight. So you can see here how he's again counterbent and now he's falling in, and this right circle ends up a lot smaller than the left. So I hope these 3 tips have helped you. Do those exercises for your own straightness when you're off of your horse. Make sure that your saddle is sitting in the middle of your horse and that your girth is tight. If you have trouble with your saddle slipping to one side or the other, I highly recommend trying out one of these total saddle fit girths because the ergonomic shape, at least for Harvey and some of my other horses, has really helped to keep the saddle straight without having to tighten the girth so much that you feel like your horse can't breathe. And the other reason that's important is that if your saddle sits crooked, it starts to change the flocking in your saddle. So if your saddle's sitting crooked, one side of flocking will compress more than the other, and you'll have to get your saddle reflocked more frequently. And then my third tip, of course, is to ride those serpentines and frequent changes of direction. So I hope you've liked this video. Check out the description box if you're interested in total saddle fit girths. And we are also going to be doing a giveaway. I don't know the details yet, but I'm sure you can find those in the description box. And thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you next Wednesday.